if we know what is important to us, we can find a sweet balance how to make it work very early. We don't have to follow like a set rule, thinking that this is the only way it's going to work. Now we can change that.
Hey Gooby, you're now listening to Buddy Time. On today's episode, we're exploring the art of life coaching and the journeys of navigating personal space in the new world with our guest speaker, Daminda Ralalage. Ready to turbocharge your day with us? Let's begin our voyage.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back again to Buddy Time. This is another episode of Fun Times, I guess. So today we invited a very special guest. For this guest, I've never actually thought that we would be able to connect together. This guest was introduced by my brother. And when he told me that this person, he's a life coach, and I was like, what is a life coach? Very interesting, because I've never actually know about or even heard about a profession as a life coach. And so I went into a little bit of research, and that's what got me interested into knowing more about life coach. And we're really honored and happy to have our guest today with us. Daminda, would you like to introduce yourself?
So my name is Daminda. I'm a life coach. I've been doing this for like 20 years. And most of the time, one of the biggest questions I get, what is a life coach? I think that's what exactly you started. The best way I explain this is think of as you are learning how to drive. Life is a destination. Life is an experience. And you can learn, teach yourself. That's okay. But there's also a chance that you're going to hit some bumps. You're going to have an accident. And you can crash the car. But at some point, if you keep driving, you will get to the destination. A life coach is someone who can minimize your risks, stop wasting time, look at more strategic, more carefully selected path to navigate life, to get to the destination, be able to experience life to the fullest, because time is the most invaluable asset we have. And my goal as a coach or mentor is to help my students to be able to experience their life to the fullest, using different methods, strategies, tools to guide them. Yeah, that's the easiest way I guess one can explain.
I wonder, what was your journey like? So before you become a life coach, were you into similar professions, or like basically how did you find out that you would like to become a life coach?
So there's the evolution of life coaching in the world. Before, when I got started, there's no such a thing called life coach, just a coach. In India, we call gurus. So it's nothing a life coach, or it's nothing like that. It's 20 years ago. You work with someone, you learn about how to work with a coach, you shadow, practice, and then you'll apply your own understanding into life and just learn to teach someone who few steps behind you. That's it. And now we have different certifications, more theoreticals and everything, but life coaching very practical. So theory alone cannot guide. I got better with experience, tying my own experience in life, understanding exploration, the sense of desire to understand what is unknown. So when you blend that in, and over time, I get recognized, okay, now you're a life coach with this experience, but the beginning itself is you're just a coach. You're more curious about life, that's it. And you can look back and teach someone else who are behind you, saying, look, here's how you can approach life differently. That's it.
So earlier when we were discussing before our recording, you shared with me another perspective of understanding what does a life coach do, right? Which is, I remember you saying life coach is to help people to sort of, in my understanding, is to figure out what we should be doing at this moment of time. Because as you said, time is the most valuable asset. So the earlier we are able to figure out how we should live our life, the faster we may find our success or happiness. Can you also share more about on this part, like elaborate a bit more, like how can we actually find happiness while we are also trying our best to make a living?
So that's a crucial jump point. When I do my coaching work, now this segment that you mentioned is called getting unplugged from the matrix. If you think about a current society, current life, the way we live, we go to school, we memorize exams, we pass exams, go to university, get a job, and then we carry on with that life. It's like pre-programmed formula, and expecting that if we do that, our life going to be more purposeful, meaningful, or something like that. But that represents about 5 to 10% of our life. The life sits outside that. So what we call life experience is beyond that. It's the adventure, sense of purpose and meaning. It's the being able to fall in love, being able to fall in love with yourself. All these experiences gives meaning to our life. So what happens usually, people don't understand how to navigate this, the 90% of life. They don't know what that really means. So what ended up happening, someone would continue until they hit a deadline at 30 or 35 or 40 and say, wow, I'm just going through a burnout. I'm in depression. I have anxiety. I don't know what my life means. I don't have a sense of purpose and meaning. That's really soul crushing. That's really a place. It's very difficult to wake up. There's no sense why we should wake up. We struggle to form deeply meaningful relationships. The human connection itself is actually becoming quite a difficult thing now. So as a coach, we always try to not to reach that dead end and have that sense of life meaning, getting unplugged, which means that one can have their own perspective about their own uniqueness. How do they define happiness, purpose, success? What does it really means to them, rather than following a formula that's dictated by something else or someone else? So life coaching allows me to guide someone to have that sense of their individuality early as possible. And if they know, if they start questioning it, that means they can go through a journey that gives them that sense rather than losing themselves in that journey without knowing. Right now, life is always going to challenge us. We are getting challenged every single day. And without having the right understanding, it's very easy to lose track. So the goal is to be able to go through the life with knowing that where you're going, what kind of terrain you are on, what kind of adventure you're seeking in life, and you own that sense, then life becomes quite adventurous and beautiful.
First off, I want to also say thank you for being here and having this talk to us. I feel like this is something that's deeply meaningful for both of us as well, to have this chance to talk to a life coach, a life guru, right? And you've mentioned in the previous thing that you've just said that you've spent already like 20 or so years coaching people into their lives. It makes me curious, because what was the turning point for you to be like, hey, I wanted to coach people? Because normally people in the world, I would say that sometimes when we learn certain things, not everybody likes to or wants to share the experiences that they gain throughout their lives with the people around them. What is the purpose and the meaning behind coaching for you? Like, what was the moment for you that you flipped and thought that you wanted to share this experience and this part of yourself to the world and to the people around you?
At the beginning, people start asking questions. So I just share what I know. But over time, I realized that the world could be a much more better place, actually. It could be a happier place. It could be a more liberated place. And I could choose to live on my life without helping anyone else, or I could choose to do something about it. So the question I had to ask, is there anything I can do to make the world a better place? If I have the chance to reborn again, do I like to have the opportunity? Would I leave this world in the same way for next generation? So that's my purpose, challenging my own core values, my purpose in this world. And I think I sleep better knowing that I try my best to do something about it. So that leads me to continue to help gradually a different individual along the line, work with entrepreneurs, elite professionals, and that was usually the segment at that time. But now it's becoming open to most city professionals who want to have better life, better quality life, rather than getting through burnouts or anxiety or depression. They would have better life definition, success definition. So I sleep better. I sleep better because of that. So, yeah.
Personally, I also really resonate with the point of doing what we feel like doing, sort of like answering the calls from our inner soul, I would say, or the so-called purpose that we realize that this is what we would like to do, at least in this lifetime, right? Because that's also one of the main reasons for why we started Buddy Up and Miguri Space. For us, I think both of us, we share one very similar purpose, which is we really just want to help people to figure themselves out. But we're using different methods or different ways to help this world, to support this community, to make it a better place than where it is right now. Just doing small things that we can do, right, step by step. And so I really resonate with that part. I'm also wondering, because with Life Coach, you've coached people who are more into the entrepreneur segment or people who are more in the work segment. So I'm wondering, like, what are the differences between a life coach and, let's say, like a therapy?
Psychotherapist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to my understanding, when people are stressed out, burned out, or depressed, or especially for those who are already experiencing some kind of mental issue, most of the time they would just go directly to a therapist or psychologist to help them get things out. But for a life coach, do you also have to, get into that part?
So that's a very vital question because life coaching is actually becoming a bit more famous now. They are expanding their awareness about this segment. But people are always confused between the difference, psychotherapy and life coach. So there's a big difference. Psychotherapy mostly interested in how past experiences dictate their present moment, the state of mind, traumatic experiences. In life coaching, I'm more interested in how you can materialize your dream into today's world. So I dig into the past. It is important, but I want to break away from that point where instead of thinking about the past, where everything is responsible about it, I want to go into the future and bring that future closer to us. Think of as a bending time. So bring the future dream life into the present moment so that the past is not relevant at all. We can go through different things in our lives. We all experience life in different ways. The world is not a balanced place. There's a hunger, there's poverty, there's so many differences. But if we can understand that we can actually have the power to materialize any life we want, then we get control, we get power. Unfortunately, the way we set up the society, people don't believe that they have the capacity to decide their own faith. And because of that, they follow a very specific timeline, very specific thread. Let me do what everyone else is doing, so I'll get to the point. That's not how life works. So we want to go back to the point where, no, you can actually materialize. So I want to look at the past, what's stopping them, because their mind often trapped in the past, but break away from it to understand the future destination and bring that closer to their present life. That gives people a meaning, advantage, and happiness. In psychotherapy, it's done slightly differently. So they usually work from present to the backward. And in some cases, psychotherapists play a vital role in people's lives, helping them uncover lots of traumatic things. But just like you need to upgrade your car or change your tires based on the terrain, every individual need to know when to switch between two scenarios. That's just experience. Yeah.
So to me, what I'm understanding as well is that the differences primarily for psychotherapy and like life coaching is that one's more so healing the past and the other one's gearing for the future, something like that.
Yeah, you can say that. So in life coaching, we mentor someone for a period of time, giving them the tools and right support so that they build the confidence that they can materialize the future they want to live in.
I think that that's such a great point that you bring up as well, because I wanted to also ask, and maybe some of our listeners might also be curious of how the processes of the sessions you run would look like for life coaching. You say that there are tools such as reflecting on the past and then also thinking about your dream and then bringing it closer. How does that work in the process of a session? How long does it usually take within the clients that you talk to? How long do you usually take with them, and how does it work?
So usually most of my sessions runs between 60 and 90 minutes, and my programs extend beyond 3 months because I need time to build the confidence that they can actually do it by themselves. I don't have actually any plan or intentions when I have worked with students saying, you need to see me for the whole year or next 10 years. No. I want them to have the confidence to be able to graduate within 3 to 4 months period. So the first month is always the unlocking the past or unlocking their inner voice. That period, the first month, often goes back to what holding them back. So asking questions like, is the life they're living feels like their own life? Or is it a command of someone else's, a copy influenced by parents, the society, friends, the school teachers, however we got influenced at the beginning? If the answer is actually, yes, I'm living a copy, okay, now we know the problem exists, that's the first step. Then we go back into uncovering, if that's the case, let's see what your true voice would be like if you take everything else out. That takes time where students need to go through some kind of level of encouragement, like able to face their own demons, because that's quite difficult. What's holding them back? Once they go through that, then the next step, the step 2, usually yourself first, learning to uncover those segments. Okay, this is how I would like to live my life. This is how I define success, relationships, purpose, meaning. What is really valuable? Once we understand that, then we can look at, okay, let's look at how to make it work. Find a job you like, find a partner, travel or experience life in the way that you want to live. There are steps. Now, when we go to school, most of the time we spend, 20 years almost learning things. We don't learn that. We learn how to pass exams, how to understand history, science, all these things. They play a vital role. But everything else, that's life. So my goal is to look at how can we make that work, make it happen so that everyone feels like they're living their dream life. And it's possible. It's possible.
And how many students do you normally coach in one session? Is it a one-on-one? Is it a group session?
Always one-on-one. Because I take between 10 to 15 students per month or for a period of time. And it's one-on-one because sometimes, let's say we are having a group session and I am delivering the life I want to live with confidence. You might take that saying, actually, that's my life as well, because we are so conditioned to follow someone else. We don't hear it. So it's vital that I have that time so they can feel like, okay, no, let me hear my own voice. What's my definition? That is so important. Otherwise, it's very easy to betray our own self. And so it's one of the leading factors into burnouts and depression.
I think that to me sounds like a good way of avoiding students copying each other's exam papers. I won't have everyone in one room because there's a chance that you might just listen to other and just copy, the A student next to you. Right?
It's very easy. Like you hear someone's dreams are so big, or like, you know what, that sounds really good. I like it as well. But we are so unique individually. You might be really good at writing. You might be good at painting. I may be good at running. So we have to understand that uniqueness and stop comparing ourselves to others, because it's never going to work. We are so conditioned to compare ourselves, from schools, or you're number 1, you're number 2, you're number 3, you're the last in the class. So there's always a winner and loser scenario. In life, there's an aspect to it, there's an element of that. But in the same time, we all have uniqueness. Before, the society needed, in a way, to have winners and losers. And that pushed the society to be very developed. But today we can experience 5G in a remote islands and top of a mountain. So we don't need to reach that level of comparison. I think now we are walking into a time, individual voice going to be the biggest thing in the world. And capacity to speak that voice, capacity to be heard, that's going to be the most powerful thing. Even here, you're creating a platform for people to be heard.
Very curious because I don't know. I love a lot of the things you said. It's making me think a lot. And then I'm linking to the fact that like the experience that you have over the 20 years of life coaching. I wonder if there's any, I would say maybe issues that people come across in their lives that you feel like could be changing because of the influences of how the world is changing? Or do you feel like most of the time people's challenges in life are all the same, no matter what era, what time we're in? Because these days, if I'm thinking more so in the new generation, often people like Gen Zs and all these people, Alpha Gens, they are influenced more so with a lot of like technology. That's why you said that 5G, and it made me think like you're in a remote island, you can still be comparing yourself or be influenced by the world that's around you. Whereas 20 years ago, maybe there's not a lot of this, so the problems could be different. My question is, do you feel like over the course of your teaching, you feel like people's challenges in their own lives have changed, or it has always been the same but influenced in different ways, if that makes sense?
It's definitely changing. Look, one of the things about the world is that it's never static. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving. Our emotions, ourselves, the society, the world, it's constantly spinning in one direction. It's changing. So as the society developed, our problems developed as well. It's like a virus itself advancing. You don't have to do it, you just leave it and it will advance. So what's happening right now, problems that didn't exist due to influence of technology is now rising. So before, people had a very easier way to interact with each other, talk to each other, say good morning, smile, laugh. You wasn't seen as a crazy person if you do that. But today you go to a place and you're laughing by yourself. You're like, oh, that person's crazy. So we are losing the ability to be human or recognize the humanity because we are replacing humanity with technology. We are so conditioned to worry about what others think than what we think. So think of why people spend so much money to feel relevant, feel recognized. Why would someone buy expensive handbag or bigger car with a massive engine? It's not because the utility, it's because the attention that brings in. Because for them, myself is not enough. So I need to have another brand attached to it. Then I'm important. I said, the problem didn't exist before. That's a new problem we have created because we are overdeveloping and we are not paying. So we are not growing from internally, we are growing from externally. So because we are expanding externally, all the attention is given into how the world is changing rather than saying how can we advance internally. We are losing that part. During COVID, that's also even for me a very turning point. I actually stopped working after COVID, like end of 2020. Because I saw great suffering in the world. Problem people thought didn't exist. Oh, we are fine. Lockdown happened, right? And people are in relationships. Suddenly everyone's getting divorced, getting all these things happening. I'm like, hang on a second. You are in a relationship. You should be thrilled because you suddenly have all the time to spend with the person. But now like, no, I don't like this person anymore.
What?
So the divorce rates went up massively during COVID. Depression went up, anxiety went up. Why? Because the society stopped and now we are seeing ourselves for the first time. We are seeing the environment. We are seeing the world we have created. That changed everything, right? People are moving out of cities like, this is not the job I want to do. This is not the partner I want to be with. And then some cases that they made new relationships because they had the opportunity to spend more time together saying, actually, this makes sense. Let's move in together. changing jobs, changing countries, expansion of digital nomad community, right? All these things happen because society, like COVID, even though it was so damaging to many people's lives, in my view, it gave a different reset point to the society as a whole. The world realized that it's not about one country. Now we are dealing with something global for the first time in a very, very long time. It never happened. So that hit the button to see problems that people thought didn't exist. That was a changing game. That changed everything. So before we were fine with human side, now suddenly we are not okay with it. New problems came up. Depression existed before, but now we have a very accelerated level. Anxiety, burnouts. Companies had to change, adapt. So new problems came as a result of it. That did not exist. When I was growing up, I don't hear that many divorces, that many depressions, burnouts. Definitely probably not burnouts. The closest one was when someone go to military and they see so much chaos and they go through lots of psychological damage. Outside that, people didn't have those conditions. But now you walk into office, they have a depression therapist, they have a psychotherapist, they have a sickness therapist. Why? Because we are now facing a different level of issues.
And you said that you nearly paused your career during COVID.
Yeah.
What were you facing in like 2020? You said that you were like also taken aback of because of COVID.
In 2020, the truth, I went through a breakup as well. So even my relationship that lasted 4.5 years, right? We were living together. That fell through. So I'm like, something is missing, something I'm missing out. Something shifted that we didn't pay attention to. So once that my ex-girlfriend moved out, let me stop everything. Let me go back to a solution that's more profound, more life-changing. So I packed my things, I left London, my home for like 18 years. And I left London to explore things, knowledge that possibly more vital for the future of our human race. And what I discovered is that solutions to burnouts and everything is actually already existed for thousands of years in the ancient knowledge. It was never utilized in that way. We are more materialistic, we are success driven, but even all that, we are still unhappy. Doesn't make any sense. So I left to explore knowledge, and for the last 3 years, I've been doing it and reintegrating into my coaching in a very different manner, different strategy. I call alpha monk mindset. Be very driven with a purpose, but have the capacity to recognize one's true self and not being depressed or losing happiness because you can't achieve anything. Very still mindset, but have the capacity to succeed in life, have a purpose and meaning. That gave me lots of reflection, exploring life in different remote villages, living among tribal people, living among different people from around the world, from Mexico to Egypt, Thailand, all across the lines. I learned so much about life, a different way of living.
It's so amazing to hear how, your life experience got you into a whole new level of who you are right now, and you are using your personal experience as a lesson and integrate them into your very unique course and to help people to upgrade themselves as well. So I'm wondering as well, because the example you shared just now about the COVID makes me realize that it has a very similar concept to, why people say we should sometimes slow down with life. As we all know, these days, life is like time passed by so fast. So in order for us to wake up, right, quotation wake up, we need to find time for ourselves to pause and to maybe do some kind of reflection. And it is when we stop and reflect on our life, on our own, on maybe if we have a partner, reflect on our partner as well. That's when we realize, something is right, something is not right. And that's where the problem occurs, just like how you described it just now. So that makes me wonder, when we talk about our personal life in this fast-paced era, what is a good balance to, I still have to keep up with life because it is definitely very competitive these days. Some places, for example, places like, let's say, Singapore, Hong Kong, in my opinion, they're very competitive. Once we slow down, the person sitting next to me could already go faster than me. And like, wait, that should be my opportunity. But because I slow down, then that's when I gave away that opportunity. So that kind of competitiveness is very real these days. So how can we actually balance this out? We still want to be where we are. We still want to gain all the opportunities that we feel like we deserve. But at the same time, we also need to find a time to really slow down. So yeah, how can we actually balance this? I feel like this is one of the most difficult problem, I feel like.
The first step is to understand the choices we are making, are they actually our choices? So like the definition of success, the location where we want to live and all these things. Are we really making those choices, or is it actually someone else made that choice? So if the choice we are making is actually already off course, then it's only natural to have a different reaction. The society is a reflection of ourselves. You go to Hong Kong, it's fast-paced. That's a reflection of the individual, the demand. The same way in most developing cities, there's this fast-paced life that we are losing ourselves in that way. But that because everyone's trying to copy everything else, think that this is the only way life means. Life has a meaning if I have this job, this much money, this kind of branded car or something. That's mean life has a meaning. That's a problem. So if we have a very hard mentality, then even if you achieve success, you won't find meaning, but through sense of fulfillment, because it's not yours. We need to find our own self, not comparing success with someone else, comparing opportunity with someone else. And that's something that we are losing because of the fast-paced world. So we need to go back to actually making our own clear choices. And from that, then we can find spaces in the world, on this planet, where we feel we are relevant, we belong. They said a very beautiful saying that when two people walk, it's either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to your pace. So you need to figure out which one is adjusting to which one.
Is there a right answer for this question? Like, who should be adjusting?
It's awareness. It's not about pace. It's awareness about self. My analogy is that you don't have to adjust to anyone's pace at all. You need to know your own pace. It's not defining success the way that everyone's trying to define, right? That's one of the reasons why I love this society. Like, right now I'm living in Thailand. I don't see many people who actually cares about brands. And they are so free about it. And most people wear brandless clothes, like completely plain. While some others actually thinking that if you don't wear this brand, you're nobody. Here, people really don't care. Now, that's freedom. That's freedom. You have to reach that level of consciousness to actually say, that is my freedom. So we need to have a very clear, driven mindset to say, if I want to be a scientist, if I want to be this person, I need to pursue that. But finding the uniqueness rather than comparing ourselves. But in the same time, not to be afraid to take steps to find your own place. Today we have the facility. When I was growing up, my parents never needed to leave their country. They couldn't in many cases. There are many people still never left the country. But you and I, we can. We are a few hours away from another location, another city. So today we have a life, even though life is fast-paced in many places, we have more choices. And that is something that people don't understand. They have choices. My parents had to retire at 65. We can retire at early 20s if we do it right. If we actually have a right strategy and a plan, we can retire early, enjoy life, slow down. We are so programmed to think that don't slow down. If you slow down, it's so bad. Don't sleep longer. No, it's okay. Because we are always comparing this same kind of trend. We can pause and reflect. We can think that what is actually valuable to me? What is the most important thing? people always look at time. We discussed this earlier. We have all the time in the world. Don't worry, you can retire at 65, you can enjoy life. No, that's not guaranteed. That mark applied 20, 30, 50, 60 years ago because the time was different. We discussed earlier, problems were difficult. Different problems at that time, different problems today, but also different markers of success. So if my parents had retirement age at 65, their life expectancy was longer. Today is a different story. We have more diseases, more conditions, more opportunities to die early. That's another way I put it. So we don't have to wait until 65 to retire. If we know what is important to us, we can find a sweet balance how to make it work very early. We don't have to follow like a set rule, thinking that this is the only way it's going to work. Now we can change that. We can actually challenge it. We have more choices.
Do you feel like as a life coach, you need to go through many experiences to be able to coach? Or is there like way or method yourself that you can pull from? Does that make sense? Because I'm asking in the general public in terms of also my mindset. This is the first time I'm engaging with a life coach and I'm learning a lot through this experience, this discussion with you. But as someone who don't know a lot about life coaching or therapy in general, sometimes I wonder, like, does a therapist have to understand and go through all these things to be able to coach people or guide people out of their mental mindset? This is something that I feel like a lot of people might question. Like, let's say someone wants to be an astronaut, but you're not an astronaut. Like, how are you going to guide me to become an astronaut or towards that path, like making me feel brave enough to try something like this?
In psychotherapy, it can be more theoretical because trauma condition the brain, the way we process things could be theoretical. So someone goes through extensive course in psychotherapy might be able to still guide someone to recover from conditions. Life coaching is slightly different. If the coach accumulates some experience about life, they get better at teaching it because it's very practical. After some period of time, you can then tap into conditions, but be able to process it and extract the nectar, extract the juice and apply it. But you still need to have that experience to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's all theoretical because human emotions are not theoretical, they are practical. So if I go through a burnout, I know what that feels like. What does it really means? If I go through a divorce, I know what it really means. If I go through a breakup, I know what does it really means. I feel it. And then I can say, hey, if you continue this path, here's how you're going to experience most probably. But the goal is not to say, go through the problem and then let me know. It's actually avoid it. That's the goal. It's not to actually go through it. So if it took me 10 years to figure out something, I would like you to do it within 1 year, not spending 10 years of your life. So life coaching requires practical element. But even for me, my mentors, they accumulated lots of experience and then they had all the knowledge to be able to pull, like AI. It can pull data and then create a own scenario saying, yeah, this is the most practical step to get there. So it needs a combination of both to be more effective.
Just now, you also mentioned about, time, right? And how once we all suddenly have time to have that human interaction or to, let's say, in a relationship, finally we have time to spend more time together, but suddenly all the problems came out. So what's your thought on today's society, especially in today's timeline? People don't really get that much of time to spend with each other. So, like, what's your thought on like how does this personal space work, right?
Yeah.
Because if we spend more time together, there's a chance that we don't like each other anymore. But if we don't spend enough time with each other, we also don't get to know each other. Yeah. So, like, what's your thought on this personal space and time?
I think this is actually really important to understand. Very, very important. We have to really understand time as a precious thing. and be able to audit time weekly basis, daily basis. Most of the way we live, we don't audit time. We don't really factor in things. How many hours we sleep, how many hours we are awake, how many hours we walk, how many hours we are on social media, and all these things. So we are very unconscious about it. So we need to really understand time and get our priorities in order. If my priority is to read 100 books, I need to figure out time for that, because that's my priority. If my priority is to have a beautiful relationship, then out of all the work, they are just tools. But my priority is to have a good relationship. I need to spend time. I can't spend all my time working and expect to have a great relationship or read 100 books. Never going to work. It's not practical. So because we are not auditing our time and we are so distracted, we don't also spend quality time with us. Therefore, there's need of personal space. But actually, if you start auditing time right and saying, right, let me get a really good quality sleep. And when I'm awake, between the point I'm awake and until I have my tea, I have my personal space. I don't get distracted by phone or anything else. So we have to remove distractions, and then we are going to find lots of time to spend to pursue something meaningful, to actually cultivate beautiful relationships, focus on success, what does it really mean, work on career advancement, sense of adventure, take on new things that you haven't tried, experience life in a different lens. We will always find time. But if we are distracted, and then whenever we have a human interaction, then we feel like, no, here we go again. I need to talk again. This is too much. Then we go backwards saying, no, I need my personal space. But personal space is necessary, but it can be allocated without compromising other things that is important to us. That's important. Today we have this sense that, especially in relationships, we always crave, I need some space for myself every day. But we also waste a lot of time doing other things, especially like on the phone, texting, checking emails, all the things we are doing, we are losing time. So it's important to get our priorities straight. We need to have that. When I do life coaching, when we do dream map, what is your priority? What is actually important to you? And then we go after it. Then we look at plans, how to get there. And if priority is not in order, we invest our limited time. This is the only thing that's important. We invest it in the wrong place and we expect a different outcome. It's not going to happen. So we need to get our priorities in order to make sure that we have space for everything. Space for personal growth, career, relationships, purpose, meaning, all these things. We have space for that if we get our priorities in order and audit our time.
I really love the way you explain about this, and I'm wondering, as you were explaining, one of the most frequently said phrase in today's, at least in people that I've met, including myself as well, I said this sometimes, which is, I don't have enough time. Like, what's your thought, or do you have any comment on this phrase, like, I don't have enough time? What does it reflect to you?
Usually it means I'm not giving enough awareness. Usually means I'm not aware about what's going on, right? Priorities not in order, then we are not aware of what is happening in our life. So, for example, 3 of us sitting here, we have a choice to pick up our phone, text all the friends, and while actually talking to each other, right? Or we can make it really meaningful by getting rid of all that, saying, let's have a actually conversation so that even we have 1 hour, that memory will last for weeks or months or years. So we can have a very compressed memory by giving 100% awareness. Today we practice more distractions. Therefore, we are losing the ability to focus. So when someone saying, I don't have enough time, usually means that their focus is not in place. But if you get your priorities in place and you channel your focus into the things that you really that things that you important, and you practice it, you will always find time to do the important things, and they will always have lasting memory. That's important.
That's it's so true to my in my head. I have no comments. I have nothing to say. I'm like, yes, yes.
Yeah, like as Daminda was, sharing, like I believe both of us also reflecting while you're sharing, and I really resonate with a lot of the things that you said, and because especially recently, like I discovered this new sort of like I call it tool, which is called human design. And for both of us getting to know more about our own human design, it was already, at least to me, it was already something that I'm so grateful that I discovered. It makes me learn more about myself and the strategy that I should be living so that I can have the so-called more unique life that belongs to myself only. And a lot of the things that human design taught me is very it reminds me of human design while you were sharing your wisdoms and your teaching as well. So to me, I feel like, yes, it's definitely very important for us to find times for ourselves. And the first step is to put all of those attention and energy back to who we are, including like, in order for us to be able to rank those priorities, we need to know who we are first, right? We need to be really, really understanding about what do we actually want, and also the purpose that you mentioned. In order for us to figure out what's our purpose, what's our passion, do we like this way or that way? Are we actually copying others? It all goes back to focusing the energy and attention back to ourselves. Like you said, word it in the very beginning, that we should all just go back to reflecting and looking into ourselves. And that is such a crucial steps that I feel like in today's society, many of us just tend to forget about who we are and tend to really pamper or look after ourselves. And that makes me have another question that today, even until today, I sometimes ask myself this question as well, which is, what exactly is self-love? The term self-love to me it has the same question to what is life, because these are very big questions where these are big questions that an individual won't be able to answer in easily if they don't have certain wisdom or understanding about what life is or who they are. So even for myself, when I ask what is self-love to me, my definition keeps on changing, and changing in a good way. My definition for self-love keeps on improving. Back then, I used to think that, self-love is just pampering on ourselves. Maybe if I feel like having some dessert, I can just grab a dessert, and that is called self-love. But as I go on with my self-development journey, I slowly realized that self-love is not just about fulfilling what my tummy feels like or fulfilling what my current desire is. It's a lot about focusing the energy, focusing the attention, realizing what my inner self is calling, and including the time that you were sharing just now. Like, how can we strategically arrange our priorities so that we can have more time, or we won't have to say that I don't have time for this and that anymore. And if I'm able to really achieve that, I feel like, that is the kind of self-love that I should be having, including maybe like I should, let's say, attend a course by Daminda to figure out all of this. That is also a form of self-love that is not just based on the very, now I call it more so the shallow satisfaction, but also the deeper fulfillment of each individual.
So many questions.
You see, questions are all questions.
Well, discussion naturally generate a lot of questions because we're talking about life in general, and these are all big questions.
Yeah, we discussed modern problems that didn't exist before. If people don't know who they are, let's say their design, then at some point they're going to figure out that they're going to feel that something isn't right. Something is missing. There's a missing piece. This is not who am I. Until that point, they're going to have self-love based on the social matrix, the social media, right? You buy this, your self-love. You do pampering day, self-love. You have a glass of wine, that's self-love, But it's also, there's another side that if you go and invest resources and money into a coach or something, that's not good. There's a guilt attached to it. So clearly something isn't right with the right self-love, because the unique design is not taught in schools. And that's a failure for our modern society. For me, that's one of the biggest failures. So if anyone, a parent listening, you have kids, get them a life coach, mentoring early possible, so that they can figure out their self-design rather than late. They feel like they have wasted their time. So your unique design is so important. If you know your unique design, the concept of self-love doesn't exist, because you're living your unique design anyway. You don't have to catch up after that, because the reason we have these terms, we are playing catch up. We are trying to define, oh, right, I'm missing out something. Okay, let's have a dessert. Let's go for a pampering day. Let's buy some clothes, which go back into more debt. And I was like, okay, now I'm on credit cards. That's a problem. So self-love now is actually negative. Self-love, in most ways that's been portrayed on social media, is about public validation. It is not inner growth. Self-love is standing up to your own beliefs, standing up to your values, investing in self-development, self-growth, rather than seeking material validation, rather than seeking validation from people and success or anyway. Self-love is being able to be happy with yourself. And if you're not happy, then you need to know why. What are you missing out in life? So if someone understands their uniqueness, unique design, and they live up to that design, there's no reason to worry about self-love at all. Doesn't exist. You remove the problem from the ground up, from the core, the root self. Remove that completely. So because we are not teaching that, because we are not living our uniqueness, now we have problems. That leads to more chaos. Self-love, these days we have self-love, gender identities. There are many problems, workplace recognitions, burnouts, and all the other things that happen in depression. They are a result of not living our uniqueness. So we are figuring out different terms to identify what's missing, but we just don't know that the life we are living is not the uniqueness. That's why it's causing all these problems. Otherwise, we shouldn't have reason to say, if I do this short-term thing, I'm going to be fulfilled. But then after, like a few days ago, I had a student call and my student said, I have a big problem with shopping, because up to this point, my definition of self-love, every time I feel down or challenged, I'll go and buy something. Once I bought it, it feels good. Within minutes or hour later, I'm back to where I was. So clearly, outsourcing our happiness is not the answer. But today, we are so conditioned to outsource our happiness, thinking that is self-love. So we have to go back to our design and inward to investigate what is self-love means, what's our uniqueness. And if you start living that uniqueness, you don't need to worry about self-love at all, because that doesn't happen. There's no need for it.
A lot of reflection again has to...
What really caught my attention in what you've just said is also the importance of life coaching from a young age. I feel like that's so important, and I wish I had that when I was growing up as well. And I resonate with that so much, because I feel like this is one of the reasons why Buddy Up was also created. We wanted to create a platform, a space for people to also try out new things, whether that's through like events or meeting new people, so that they can expand their experiences and knowledge about the world of what they actually want for themselves. And that's something that when I grew up, I didn't have. I feel like I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think part of knowing what I want to do with my life is knowing myself, right? Like self-love and all this thing. And I feel like hearing this, I wish that schools have a life coach. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that what school is teaching is not enough, not good enough, but I feel like the school should if possible, implement life coaching, because everything else that the school is teaching are all very fundamental things that we need in our lives to operate as a human in this world. But it doesn't help. It's lacking the part where when we have all these tools, we don't know how to utilize all of them. And I feel like having a life coach would really help us know which tools to pick up and which tools we would feel more like these are the things that make me feel more like myself. And that's something that I have to always been figuring out throughout my whole life. What should I do with my life? What do I want? And I end up feeling really confused and having to find it myself. I feel like it would be so valuable. I wish that this is something that I've heard earlier, maybe when I was 10, maybe when I was 5. Hearing that and being able to grow up with that, I feel like the decisions in my life would have been very, very different. Not that it's different bad, but just different overall.
I think there's 2 important things I want to actually expand from what you just mentioned. The educational system we have right now is not enough for to prepare the next generation to the world that they are going to live in. It is not enough. It has served a purpose before. It is not enough. It's been lacking it for the last 20 years. We are lacking it. And the reason we are feeling this emptiness, this black hole in our soul, because the education in some ways failed us to prepare us for the life we are living right now. So, yes, schools should have meditation teachers. They should. They should have a life coach. They should teach human design, unique design in schools as a must-have subject. It's not optional. It must be there. It must be taught. The next generation must be given that opportunity to have that uniqueness. It's very important. And that's number one. The second part, parents' duty is not to create a copy of themselves through children's. Parents' duty is not to fill the void, missing opportunities that they had and fill the gap through children's. Parents' duty now is to give them the room, the space they need to be the best version they can be, to find their uniqueness. We need more writers, more creators, more authentic thinkers now rather than actually AI. AI will actually optimize so many things. Whether we like it or not, hey, it's going to be there. It's going to change the world. It's how it's going to be. It's been operating in the background for a long time. It's just only now we are hearing it. Give the room, the space the kids need to grow, to be the best version. Find the room, the uniqueness. That is so vital. Parents and schools going to play a massive role. And yes, it might be a bit late for the clients, students I serve, but that's why we are here. Me as a life coach, my role is to elevate minds so that they can live their best self. By doing that, if they choose to fall in love, have kids, they can then pass that down to the next generation. So by changing one mind, you're changing a whole chain reaction. So it's very important to understand the time jump we are in. If you can change your mind and live your unique design, you can share that message backward, forward, and using digital media, we can live. This is our cave writings. Long time ago, ancestors didn't have podcast, so they carved it in stone tablets. This is the modern day stone tablets. So preserve everything you know, your uniqueness, and share it with the world. That's your responsibility. When I teach students, I say, I'll reflect on my own life. I think about the way I have lived in the last 20 years, especially the last 3 years, and I'm okay to go. If today's my last day, I'm good to go. I have no regrets. I've elevated minds. I've helped people. I've helped children, and I fall in love.
We've just met. Please don't go.
but I don't have any regrets. I don't have that, and I've accepted that. So every day is a blessing for me, and I want everyone. I would love to see everyone feel the same way. Every day is a blessing. Every day wake up, wow, I'm so glad to be here. This is exciting. I want to live to the fullest, not to waste it. That's a beautiful way to live, beautiful way to wake up. I think That's the responsibility we have to pursue that growth, the sense of being, but also pass it down so that the next generation or generation after won't have that question of what is self-love. They are living it from the ground up. That will be the best place to be.
Yeah, again, everything that Daminda shared with us today, to me, definitely very unlocking a lot of the new thoughts as well, new reflection as well, I'm sure, after today's talk.
And also upgrading a lot of existing thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, upgrading as well. Just a lot of things happening in my brain, my inner self as well. So I think to borrow what you said just now, I think at this moment, I can fully say that it's such a blessing that we're able to, sit over here and share with each other all of the wisdom, especially from someone who we're experienced in what life is. And it's definitely very touching to me in a way that because recently I'm definitely in the stage of how I would call it is upgrading myself in my life as well, to be able to really, really wake up every day and saying that I'm so excited for today and I've lived my day fully today. I think I'm still on my way to achieve this goal. And definitely your wisdom that you've shared today has helped me to open up a lot of more inspiration for me to get there even faster, even though I haven't taken your class yet. But I feel like just hearing from this, I'm already taking so much. And I'm sure that if I, have your class, probably like you said, the time will just jump. Like maybe I would need like a week, a month to get to that point. But maybe after I attended your class, it would speed up my journey as well. So I'm really grateful for today's talk, and thank you so much for sharing all of your stories and experience and wisdom to all of the listener. And I really hope that not just Sony and I today, we hope that all of the listener can also get a lot of inspiration and refocus the energy back to ourselves and think about what exactly it is that makes how unique we are.
And before we wrap up this episode as well, Daminda, do you want to say a few words about your classes that you offer or how our listeners can reach out to you if they're interested in having their life coached?
I usually take between 10 and 15 students per month, or unless someone graduates, then opportunity arises. So they have to apply. They can apply online on the website academy.gayatribe.co. I'm also on social media. These days I'm working on lots of content that I can give freely, so that, because I know not everyone will be able to join my classes, and there's a financial cost to it, and there's a reason why there's a cost to it, because I want everyone to take it very seriously. Life is a very serious matter. It is not a guessing game. Time is finite. We have to understand these realities. So we start taking life casually, we become casualties. We have to take it very seriously. So the ones who can join the course, they can actually go through it for 3 to 4 months. And sometimes I customize it in a way that it gives the best advantage for the student to succeed in their life. Others can join all the content on social media. We can share all the links, all the platforms. I think, everyone's life is so unique. I want people to think that they have the opportunity to live their uniqueness. I want people to believe that. And don't stop. Don't settle. Keep going and keep living, keep exploring, keep living to the fullest. And by doing that, you don't have to do separate things to change the world. You will be changing it automatically.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining our conversation with Daminda. We hope it sparks some new ideas for you, just as it did for us. If you're interested in connecting with Daminda or learning more about his work, be sure to check out the details in our episode captions. We can't wait to bring you more thought-provoking, life-enhancing topics in our next episode. Until then, stay curious and take care.